Okay, in this episode of Navajo Tea Time, we are going to talk about the Navajo Nation election season.
Woo!
All right, so I'm going to share my screen here. This is the 2022 primary election timeline. So starting April 21st, candidates are going to begin filing for Navajo Nation President, Navajo Nation Council, Navajo Board of Education, NBOES, Kayenta Township, and Naschitti Commissioners. So we're going to be, what we want to do is track this election over time to see who's running, what their platforms are, and then have discussions throughout the season about, each of the candidates. So we're excited about that. The primary election is scheduled for August 2nd. So it's going to be a fun season, eh?
Yeah. What is NBOES?
I don't know. I think it's Navajo Board of something.
Environmental Services? Because they have the education board there.
Yeah. I guess I should have done more research. I don't know.
I'll look it up and I'll put in like big letters across the screen.
I know there's probably people pulling their hair out right now. Like, come on, you guys. So I saw on Facebook, and I'm not sure about this, but I think Buvan Nygren's going to run for Navajo Nation President this season. He's doing like a Facebook forum kind of thing tomorrow. So I'm going to tune into that and see if that's what he's doing. But I did see that he's resigned from NECA, and I think he's going to focus on the election this season. So we'll see. I think that'd be really cool. I believe his wife, Jasmine, she's one of our state representatives, or she represents Apache County. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I think some people from the Cameron community are also running for state offices.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty cool. I don't pay attention to politics very much.
That's fine.
It's stressful, and it gets people yelling at each other instead of talking to each other. And I know the other night my older brother was trying to talk to us about politics over Twitch stream, and so I was watching my younger brother Urian play his game, and he was playing with my older brother Charles. And I because I'm watching on Twitch, I can only text in the little chat, but they actually are talking over the mic. And he was trying to talk to me about something, and then Urian's like, "I'm not talking politics between you and Kelsey, because Kelsey can only use chat, so I have to read it to you, and I'm not doing that." And it's like, okay. I wasn't trying to start anything, but he had something to say, so. I was like, yeah, don't talk politics very much, almost never.
I mean, a lot of people get really riled up by politics, but some people, they think it's really amusing, so like I wanted to cover, so of course I'm the one that's like, hey, let's do this on Navajo Tea Time. But I think it's a great topic because it's a topic of conversation. It's something that affects us all in the Navajo Nation, whether we want to admit it or not. Who we vote for, it does, who we vote for determines who's going to lead this nation. And so it is important that we know who's running for office. We know who not to vote for, especially if, they reveal that they might not be the best candidate for, just depending on their platform or how they interact with the public. Truthfully, though, I'm really excited about this election season because I heard rumors of another female candidate who's going to put in for Navajo Nation President. And if she does, I really want to do everything I can to support her. So just putting it out there for everyone to know right now. So we'll see if she actually does. She did say something about it earlier last year. And I was like, oh my God, that would be so super awesome. But you know, just like putting my bias on full display that, you know, if she is going to run, I'm going to be very excited about it. Maybe we can pull her on and ask her some questions. Maybe we can get some others who are running, pull them on to Navajo Tea Time and ask them questions too. Maybe not, you know, maybe we'll just talk about their platforms and what's currently going on this election season, but I'm excited for it. I am wondering if, you know, so let me, so maybe we can have a back and forth here. So President Nez, so he was previously the vice president under Russell B. Gay, and then he ran for president with, he announced that he was going to run for president on his own. And the big question during that season was, who is he going to pull in as his VP? And he ended up choosing Myron Leiser. Well, Myron Leiser announced a couple weeks ago that he's actually going to run for state representative. This means that President Nez is going to have to choose a new VP if he's going to run again. You know what I mean? As the incumbent. So if he's going to maintain that office, because who knows, he might be like, you know what, this is crazy, I'm going to step back. But I have a sense that he's going to want to stay in office. And I have a sense that he's going to choose a new VP. And I'm curious about who that VP might be. Because, you know, Myron Leiser is, I think he kind of brought up a lot of controversy during the pandemic because of his personal political beliefs and leanings and his actions in office. So I know some people like super support him, but I also know that there's a large majority that doesn't and are kind of relieved that he's exiting his role. So what are your thoughts on that? I'll put you on the spot.
I don't have any thoughts on that because I don't think about it.
I know this has been keeping you up at night.
I don't know what keeps me up at night. I suffer from random bits of insomnia, but I don't think it's the political scope of the Navajo Nation.
Well, it was keeping me up at night because I was just like, I was actually having this internal dilemma. Like, so I voted for President Nez, and when he said he was going to run for office, I was like, oh heck yeah, you know, because at first it was like I voted for Russell B. Gay because he chose President Nez. And the reason why I support him is just because he was really a big supporter of the initiative, the renewable energy initiatives that I was involved in, you know, like a decade ago. And so just that forward thinking and the fact that he is, you know, an ultra runner, I really do believe that, you know, people that have that mental fortitude to do that would be great leaders. So there's kind of that running culture in it. And then of course, some of the things he stated on his, you know, that were part of his platform, I supported. Anyways, so he runs for office. I was excited about it. I voted for him. I even went to the big election ceremony, like I was there during the inauguration and it was great. But I was having this internal dilemma, like, if he's gonna run with Myron Leiser again, I don't know if I could have voted for him again. You know what I mean? I was like, because I just don't, personally, I was just kind of like, oh man, that guy doesn't really seem like his best, he doesn't seem to have the best interest of the Navajo Nation at the forefront of his policy making or even his agenda. So I was like, if he's gonna run again and VP Leiser is gonna remain in his position, I was like, I might have to choose another candidate or someone else's support. Anyway. So
what is President Nez's, you said Leiser's a Republican. Is President Nez a Democrat or also a Republican?
It appeared to be that they were going to go at this, it was going to be bipartisan leadership, because that's kind of what I understood, that the president had more of a Democratic base and VP Leiser had a Republican base, and together it was bipartisan leadership, which I thought was a great strategy, you know, because having representatives in an office and leadership positions that represent both parties, that could be beneficial for the people. Myself personally, I'm an independent, so I don't fall right or left. I kind of weigh the issue and I vote on what I think is aligns with my own values and my own, whatever. But yeah, so I think that's how I understood it. You know what I mean? I don't think that I didn't see President Nez as a hardcore Republican or anything like that. So
okay, like, I don't know, I think it's nice to have somebody who has opposing views at times because it keeps your views in check. Like if you surround with people who are always like-minded, always fall in line with what you do and what you think is right, you're never going to have that outside perspective on how what you are doing might be wrong. And if you're someone who's like the Navajo Nation president or any high leadership role, if you never have somebody questioning your decisions, then you could get a big head and be like, oh, everything I do is correct and everything I do is right. So the people saying that I'm doing things wrong are the ones wrong because none of my people in my, advisors are telling me anything different. And
yeah, like you don't want to surround yourself with a bunch of yes people. You know what I mean? They just agree with everything you say. And I mean, that's how dictatorships form. You know what I mean? When there's no opposing view and everyone just, they're living in fear basically of the leader, and that person becomes, one voice for all, and that's not good. But like VP Lizer, I didn't really know who he was or what he stood for in the very beginning. And I think some of the first inklings of me being a little skeptical of his decision making was just when he started to be a really big supporter of 45. And he went out to Washington and, he wasn't wearing a mask during the time when the pandemic was really, it had a lot of teeth. And I mean, there were like, thousands of people losing their lives on the Navajo Nation. And for him to go out there and just be like, not honor that in any way, not take any kind of safety measures to protect himself, while he's away, and then come back to the nation where, the Navajo Nation was a hot spot. And, so many people had lost their lives. It just seemed really disrespectful and really wrong at the time. And that's when I was like, is he not connecting the dots? And that made me worry. I start to worry when people don't seem to be connecting the dots. It's like, oh no, what else are they not understanding? It's like, and they're in a position of power. So that's the only, that was kind of the thing. And then there's little things after that. And I was like, oh man, I don't know if does he not care about us? Does he not value us, like our lives? Does he not want to protect us? Because that's what a leader's supposed to do, not bend over backward for other people so they could sink their teeth into the Navajo Nation or the people of the nation, or they're supposed to be there to protect us. They're supposed to be like our warriors. And when you have someone in leadership that's not doing that, it's worrisome, I guess, for me personally,
Yeah, I don't know. I like working on the, I guess, local level with the local people here. It always feels like you can't count on the people at top. So I really don't care what they're doing because especially like out here in Cameron where I am, there's no central representation from Window Rock. Like what they're doing is what they're doing, and we out here are fending for ourselves all the time. So whatever they're going to do, it doesn't, maybe I'm sure at some like administrative level it affects us, but we're so far removed from what they're doing in central Navajo that we're basically like on the life raft floating on our own, and whatever the main boat's doing has little effect to us.
But that's not true, because
I know it's not true, but it feels that way. It's like,
absolutely.
It's like, you guys do what you want to do. We're going to take care of ourselves out here. And, it feels like sometimes that's how it happens. It's like, we're not nothing they do affects us, but I'm sure it does. I know it does, but like day to day, it feels like nothing they do affects us in any positive way.
Well, the problem is that they're making decisions at a federal level, at a level where the impact might not be felt by us immediately, but our kids will definitely feel it, especially when it comes to resource allocation, when it comes to, you know, water and land rights, when it comes to legislation that, you know, if passed at that level, you know, who's going to fight to change it? It's a long process, you know what I mean? And so that's what I worry about. I'm just like, man, it might not affect me today, but it's going to affect my kids and my grandkids. And so that's why I worry about it. That's why I lose sleep and have these internal conflicts.
No, I get it.
Me, you know, I know not a lot of people are like that. They're just like, whatever. So,
well, it's not like, oh, I don't care. It's, I don't understand enough to do anything active about it.
Yeah.
And I only have so much brain space, and, you know, there's things I have to care about immediately and things I need to work on immediately. And the political sphere isn't one of them.
And it's dangerous too to kind of get involved in it. Like I always worry too, like, is this going to be held against me later? You know what I mean? Because I'm openly saying, you know, this is someone who's like decisions I don't support. And I sometimes worry that that's going to piss off the wrong people and they're going to be like, try to bring it back later. But I mean, there's also this part of me that's like, well, I have to be authentic in who I am and what I believe. And I also subscribe to the Annie Dodge Wanika model, where if you got to slap a senator, you slap a senator. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not afraid of nobody, you know, like I'm going to say what I think needs to be said. I'm going to do what needs to be done to protect the people, you know, and that's how she operated. And I think she was freaking awesome for that, you know, like I got mad respect for that woman and all of our leaders that, you know, they said what needed to be said. They stood up for what they believed, whether right or wrong. They made a stand and made a decision. And I think that does take a lot of bravery, because there are times, like I said, when I get scared and I'm just like, oh man, like, is this going to come back to haunt me later? You know what I mean? But I've had, you know, that's happened before. Like when I was working on SB 2109, you know, this is like directly against Ben Shelley. And, you know, luckily I never had to have a run-in with him, but, you know, even to this day, I don't think if given the opportunity to do a meet and greet, I would show up. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still kind of pissed about that, him trying to give away our land and water rights. I'm just like, do I want to shake your hand? I don't think so. You know what I mean? Given the choice, you know, there's some people I'm just like, you know, I just can't support it and I refuse to. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing Ryan said to me, like we were at Twin Arrows going to meet at a potential client for something, and they're having this big conference, and the president was there. The Navajo Nation president was there, and he walked by us and he said hi. I was like, hi. I'm like, hi, we met the Navajo Nation president. He's like, he's just a guy, you know, they're just people. And then they're appointed to power and they're still just people, you know. So if you don't want to meet an ex-president, that's not saying much. They're just people.
And, you know, it's funny because now I work really closely with the former VP who worked with that administration. And so that's been an interesting interaction too. And I think the conversations we've had since have been really enriching, you know, because there are a lot of things we don't see behind the scenes. You know, there's a lot of things that go on that are not publicized. And once you start to learn some of those stories, I think there is potential to have empathy for some of these people, or to kind of start to understand why they made the decisions they made, you know? And so that's good too. So getting to know people that are elected, I think is important, and choosing not to, you know, that's fine as well. You know, like some people don't get all starstruck, you know, about political leaders or leaders in general. But I think when it, like, just as a person, like just a personal thing, you know, when it comes to leadership, it's something I take really seriously. I have a pretty strong interest in what that looks like and what it looks like within tribal nations, what it looks like in the context of the Navajo Nation. You know, what does it look like on the ground when it comes to grassroots initiatives or on the organization level, or even just, you know, the day-to-day workplace life. You know, what does leadership look like in a family? You know, those are things that those are the things I like to think about and talk about because it's something I have an interest in. And, you know, maybe one day, you know, I'll get to that level where I will act as a leader. Right now, I'm the leader in my home as a mother, you know, and as a wife, but will I have opportunities to lead in the future? Maybe, maybe not, you know, but I just feel like preparing oneself by watching how others do it is important, you know? So I'm always looking at other people's methods. And I also try to apply certain people's methods to my work. Like Winona LaDuke, she's someone I really look up to too. And I really love, and I met some really great women this past weekend who, like, the way they presented, the way they spoke, the knowledge they carried and the initiatives they were pushing, like they really inspired me. And so you know, I look to them and I want to apply those same methods to my work and to how I carry myself, you know, in those different arenas. So I think that's cool. I don't know. I think we all look up to certain people. For me, I'm always looking at people who exhibit that kind of leadership. I'm not looking to people on MTV or like, I'm not taking notes from Cardi B or anything. Like Megan Thee Stallion.
So, I don't know who any of those people are, but
who do you look up to as far as like, you know, leadership?
I don't. I've never like, I don't, it seemed like ever like, you know, in school and everything, you always get these questions like, oh, who are your heroes? Who are your leaders? You know, like, who do you want to aspire to be? And I've never felt that about anyone, really. I've never aspired to be anyone in like, for me, like with my work, there's people I aspire to work with and people I aspire to like show my skill set to and be like, hey, if you hire like if like someone calls me up for a job and like, oh, hey, we would love to work with your company, that's something I aspire, like, I don't know, it's like with my work ethic and the way I do my job, it's like I want to do the best job I can do so that if these big companies or these big people call me, I feel confident enough to do that job. And that's just how I've been the past few years, is like, I don't know, like that's
so you're like setting standards for yourself and your focus is on reaching those standards or exceeding them, right? You're not trying to model yourself off anybody else, right? Or after anybody else.
Like I'm not like, oh, I want to be the next Steven Spielberg. It's like, no, not really. Like he's done some cool jobs and like, no. It's kind of hard because like for me with my filmmaking, I've never wanted to be the director. I've always loved like the AD, like the assistant director, the producer role, where they manage the entire film set, you know, like they get the money, the locations, the actors and everything, and they organize it all together so the director can achieve their dream of like, you know, their vision of whatever creative thing they wanted to do. That end is always fun for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way as far as like the spotlight's concerned. Like I've never liked to be the person in the spotlight. I've always been the person who's very comfortable behind the scenes, you know, making things happen behind the scenes. I'm very effective in that. But when I'm thrown into the spotlight, then I get freaked out, you know, because I'm like, oh my God, everyone's watching me. And I know they're going to be judging my every move. And I think that was like the hardest thing for me to really come to terms with when it came to like doing Navajo Tea Time,
Mm-hmm.
because all of a sudden it's like, well, we're putting our words and thoughts out into the public for all to see, and that can be kind of scary sometimes.
Yeah, so like you say, you look up these different leaders and everything. That's not how like I approached anything. Like with the community work I do, I've seen people act ways I don't agree with, and so I call them out on it. Whether I know how to act the proper way, I can't say I know what's best. I feel like this is the best. I just know when something's done wrong and feels like it's being done wrong, or people aren't acting the way they should in a like leadership position, or like there's got to be easier ways to do certain things. And so that's how I go about things, like trying to find the best solution possible, and not try to be like, oh, this lady would do it this way, or like, no, that's not how I do things. But then going back to like, you know, the election year and everything, I feel like if people knew exactly how policies and decisions got approved and made, it would make people understand more of like, it's not always on President Nez or Vice President Leiser. And, you know, the council delegates definitely hold a lot of say in what gets approved and what doesn't get approved, or what goes to the president to approve. And I think with being a part of the community committees and stuff, you see there's tons of red tape that and lots of hoops and things people have to get through to get any type of like resolution or policy brought to a community. And then there's a lot of rules and a lot of signatures and a lot of voices that get said on whether or not the policy gets even presented to the president or whoever to say, yeah, I approve it, let's get this project started, or let's get these things going. There's so much red tape in anything that it's not always just one person's fault. There's a whole system that needs to get looked at and examined, and seeing like, you know, maybe there's these 3 different policies that prevent this one thing from happening. And sometimes it is one person's fault. If you want to know about that, go to our Navajo Tea Time Buy Me a Coffee on Happy Accidents Buy Me a Coffee account to see that tea. So I think we've run up our time on this topic and the election. Let us know what information you want to know about candidates and what candidates you guys are hoping to see. I believe you said in May is when the finalization of becoming a candidate is approved. That's the deadline to apply for running for office, correct?
Yeah, so the last date to file for candidacy is May 4th. So we'll have a good, we'll have a clear view in May about who's going to be a part of this race. And then, oh yeah, June 24th, voter registration closes at 5 p.m. So if you're not registered to vote, now would be the time to do that. So just throwing that out there. And just
check and make sure. I know sometimes like I've registered to vote, but they're always like, you're not on the list. I'm like, yes, I am. And then I have to give them my little blue paper every single time, and I have to go get a new little blue paper. So get your little blue paper.
Yeah, but don't let that deadline pass you by.
All right. So this has been Navajo Tea Time talking about politics. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment a topic you would like us to talk about in May.
Yep. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.